my name is Alice Pelton. I am 28 years old and a partner family with North St. Louis County Habitat for Humanity. My Habitat story is not your typical story. Many times when you see people come up on the stage every year, they're usually a multi-member family household. They typically have kids. And I wasn't your standard partner family. I was, I think, one of the first, or maybe the first single people to get a Habitat home. A little bit about me so that you understand, where I come from and why I'm here. I grew up in the Twin Cities, and I kind of grew up in a very dysfunctional household and family. My mom was an alcoholic, and my father is a heavy, lifetime hard drug user. The childhood that I remember is one of fights and drinking, drug use, abuse, and most of all, uncertainty. My parents had split up when I was 4, and from that point, the contact with my dad was pretty much non-existent. My mom's alcoholism and her dependence on men kind of went hand in hand together and was a big factor into my childhood. Her dependence led to many moves, many different schools, and having to start over many different times. I think the longest that I ever attended a school for one period of time was 3 years, maybe 3 grades. When I was 12, I found myself in kind of the worst situation yet because of my mom. My sister, I have an older sister, half-sister, she had left to go live with her grandparents because she didn't want to be in that situation anymore, and she was old enough to know that she could do that. My mom had been in a year or 2 deep relationship that was just very toxic. A lot of physical abuse, a lot of emotional abuse. There was drug usage, and most of all, drinking. It was kind of an all-time high for, my life, my childhood. But luckily, my grandma had finally witnessed a little bit of what was going on at home and took some action to try and get me out of the situation to become my guardian. It wasn't an easy road, but it was successful. A lot of courts, a lot of meetings with people trying to figure out what was in the best interest. I was removed from my mom's custody, but I did have to stay in foster care temporarily while we were waiting for the judge to make kind of the ruling that my grandma could be my guardian. I finally was able to live with my grandma after probably like a 6-month process. And that's when my life turned around quite a bit. After I graduated high school, I kind of went out on my own at that point. I went to St. Cloud to go to St. Cloud State, and I wanted to go to college and support myself. I won't lie, it was hard. It was really hard. I struggled to work and to do well in school, and I found myself without enough money to pay for school. I ended up having to drop out halfway through my second year at St. Cloud. I couldn't even afford books, so I couldn't pass my classes because I didn't even have my books. And at that point, I didn't really feel like I had a home to go back to. I think my mom might have actually been living in my high school bedroom at my grandma's at that point because my grandma had taken her in. I just didn't want to be near that toxicity again. I didn't have any desire to have any kind of a relationship or closeness by my mom. So I stayed in St. Cloud. I began working full-time in St. Cloud. I would work to pay rent, pay bills, and just have a place to live. It was probably the most valuable experience that I've ever gained throughout my life. I kind of learned the hard way how to be on your own, support yourself, take care of yourself. And mind you, I was 18, 19, 20 in these years. I definitely didn't do a perfect job. I got behind sometimes, but I did make it work. So while I was in St. Cloud, I had met a guy and we had began dating for quite a few years. He was originally from the range, I think Ely, and had gotten a job opportunity to work at the mines, so I decided to relocate. I thought, that was going to be it, and so I chose to come here with him. And unfortunately, as getting older and just life changes, that relationship just wasn't the the end all for me. It didn't end up working out, but I chose to stay. I really loved the small town life up here and the vibe that I got, the sense of community from the people on the Iron Range and the city of Virginia. I definitely didn't know many people, but I also knew that I didn't have anything for me in the cities, but bad memories. So I just wanted to start fresh. I had gotten a cheap apartment close to my job. At the time, I was a bank teller. I had started working at U.S. Bank here in Virginia, and this is kind of how I first heard about Habitat. There was a customer who was a board member, and after getting to know him a little better, he had kind of mentioned Habitat and encouraged me to apply. I think also one of my coworkers, who is sitting here, has talked to me about the Habitat program a time or two. So I decided to. The first time I applied to Habitat, I was denied. I was very discouraged when this happened. I had been living in this cheap apartment near work, and this apartment was above a bar on Main Street, Virginia. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Main Street, Virginia, and a lot of the establishments there. It was a really scary place, and it was pretty unsafe, especially just being by myself. I even got a dog. I got a big German Shepherd dog, King, for a little kind of protection, companion, peace of mind. My finances were tight. I barely made over the minimum wage. When you start out as a teller, you don't make a ton of money. And I knew that my credit wasn't really where it needed to be to go and buy a house, by myself. So I was really hopeful that I was going to get accepted into the program and I would have a chance at a safe and affordable home for myself. After about a year of the denial, I actually was sitting at this very dinner with my coworkers from the bank, because the bank every year offers up tickets to send the employees to come here. And I was seated with that same board member that had told me about the program, and I explained to him how I had applied and how I got denied, and he told me to reapply. Well, I didn't even realize you could reapply. I thought it was kind of a one-time deal, like once you're denied, you're denied. You obviously don't qualify. It turned out that the need for housing in the area, the year that I had applied, there just was other families out there who needed it more than I did. They had worse situations, they had more going on, and now that I know how that process works, I'm really grateful that I did get chosen, because I don't know if I could, live with myself if I knew that I had taken away a house from somebody who, small children or anything, somebody who really needed it. I resubmitted a new application after that dinner, and I had an interview or two, and this time, to my surprise, I was selected to become a partner family. The process for me went really fast. There happened to be a recycle home that became available rather quickly in the safe, cute little community of Midway in Virginia. And the previous homeowner had her situation change, and so she generously donated her house back to the program. So this also meant that I had a race to get my sweat equity hours done as soon as possible, because there was an empty house just sitting there waiting for me to move into so I could get out of my apartment. And I think at that point I only had like 30 hours done, maybe. I don't know. I didn't want to cram in there. There really aren't any words that can describe the feelings that I felt when I went through living above that bar. There were fights, there was unlocked entrances to the hallway that led to my apartment door. There was drinking, drug use, partying going on downstairs, like all hours of the night. Sometimes it didn't stop. It would just, 6 a.m. I'd get up for work. Yeah, they're still going. And now I finally would get to step foot into the gorgeous, clean, quiet, and safe home. And it literally was one of the best experiences of my life. Okay, once I was in my Habitat house, my life once again took, a pretty big turn from that point on. My significant other and I found out after we had moved in that we were expecting. And not only were we expecting, but I was pregnant with twins. Now I have an amazing and intelligent set of 2-year-old twins, Caleb John and Callie Jean. And I also have a 6-month-old daughter named Corey Rose. 3 children under 2. Over the past years, my home served me and my growing family so well, and I can't imagine what I would have done if I would have had to raise my children in that apartment that I lived in. I'm just so thankful that there was like a safe, nice, wonderful place that I could bring those kids home from the hospital. There's also been some changes in the past few years in my work life. I would like to feel like I've moved a little further in my career. I have a really wonderful job at Wasabi Range College. I've been there for about almost 3 years now. This job has really helped give me the ability to provide better for my family. And since our family has grown so much since I began this whole journey, our circumstances have kind of changed, and I've decided that it's time for me to pass my home on to a family who needs it at this point more than I do. We need more space to grow, and I just know that there's somebody out there who needs the same hand up that I once received. So recently I did donate my home back to Habitat within the last few weeks, and I really hope that it serves the next family well. I think oftentimes people don't always have a good understanding of the Habitat program, what it does for people, and the requirements that goes into becoming a partner family. Hopefully, after me sharing my story, it does help encourage other single men and women to apply so that they can improve their situation. Just because you don't have children doesn't always mean that you don't need a hand up. And just because you don't have children at one point doesn't mean that they're not going to be there in the future. And in conclusion, I would just like to say thank you to everybody for listening tonight to me. Thank you to Habitat for everything that we've been through the past few years. And thank you to the volunteers who helped me, either friends or family or Habitat volunteers, get my hours done, work on my house, and just get it ready for us. I'm really looking forward to life in our new home, and I look forward to continuing to be part of the Habitat family.